How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH after show. Let's get into it. We'll start with the teens. Joss, Cameron, and Trina are still at the cabin, and when Trina emerges from her room, she has no memory as to what had just transpired whatsoever. So Joss and Cameron had to fill her in. She was embarrassed, of course, but Joss and Cameron reassured her that they know for a fact that Esme had set out to humiliate her. Meanwhile, Esme continues to manipulate Spencer on the car ride home, and it's clear that she still has him by the balls. Ooh, I hate nothing more than a master emotional manipulator. Especially one that's this transparent. Although I do believe that deep down, deep down, Spencer knows that there's something not right with Esme. Deeper than hell probably, but it's still there. Later in the week when all the teens were home and Spencer was at Kelly's collecting his last paycheck before he heads over to Spring Ridge, none of his friends were there for his final goodbye. Can't imagine why. Kevin and Victor were there, and Esme was too, of course, and Laura would get there eventually, but she was busy officiating Ned and Olivia's wedding, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But Spencer was busy trying to text Trina, and Trina was at the gallery ignoring all of the text messages while she fills Ava in on what transpired at the cabin. Spencer decided to head to the gallery without telling anybody, and during that time, Esme and Victor had a bit of a bonding moment. It's fine, probably, or it was, until Victor realized that Spencer was missing. Spencer gets to the gallery and Ava decides to leave them alone so that they could talk, and heads over to Kelly's, where she informs the rest of Spencer's family where he is, including Esme, and Esme was clearly hella mad and heads over to the gallery. When she got there, she walked in on Spencer and Trina kissing. Off-screen, Omicron. Esme pretended she didn't see and called out to Spencer saying that he couldn't be late for jail. Laura, Nicholas, and Ava showed up to the gallery because they figured that Spencer shouldn't be alone with Trina and Esme, and they whisked him off to Spring Ridge, but not before Nicholas and Spencer had a kind of decent moment together. Anyway, I thought Trina was in danger before, but now I'm thinking she needs security. This ain't good. Let's talk about something a little bit happier. Ned and Olivia renewed their vows this week, and it was really sweet. Olivia was in a sparkly dress and practically glowing. Ned was emotional, and Laura was officiating the wedding. All their friends and family were there, including Sonny and Carly, but we'll get into that mess a little bit later. Maxie was there because she plans everyone's wedding in Port Charles, and of course Austin showed up too. The wedding practically went off without a hitch. I mean, Tracy and Ned even had a nice loving mother and son moment, but then some agents from the WSB show up and say that Tracy is under arrest for selling counterfeit diamonds. Now, earlier in the day, Tracy had mentioned to Laura that she was going to go back to Amsterdam and sell pieces of the Ice Princess and invest in that money. Clearly, she had already gotten the ball rolling on that one. However, Tracy swears up and down that she did not know that that was counterfeit diamonds. In fact, she said that she even got it appraised and approved. So whatever happened in between selling the diamond and when it got to the hands of other people, something went down. On top of that, she recognized one of the agents as being someone that has always harassed Luke Spencer. Drew decides to call Anna in to help them in some way. Anna shows up and uses her WSB connections to make sure that Tracy doesn't get arrested. And with that, Tracy is allowed to head back over to Amsterdam, but with one caveat: the agents insist on escorting her to the airport. Now, we didn't get to see what happened after that, but somehow I don't think Tracy's gonna be getting back to Amsterdam anytime soon. Whatever is going down, this definitely has Victor Cassadine's fingerprints all over it. He's got plans for Tracy, and I'm betting he has plans for the Ice Princess too. Alright, let's talk about Willow and Michael, because they finally have something worth mentioning about them, or at least Willow does, something that we've always kind of suspected. It was just really a matter of when or how it was gonna go down. Michael decides to surprise Willow with a surprise trip to Paris, every girl's dream, except she doesn't have a passport because she's never traveled out of the country before, and she can't seem to find her birth certificate. The physical one has gone missing, and on top of that, there is no record of it online whatsoever. Now at that point, I was thinking what I'm sure a lot of people were thinking, so this is how we find out that Nina is in fact Willow's mom, isn't it? Personally, I never bought that the writers had always intended on Nell being Nina's daughter like they claimed. I thought it was either a fake out or that it was a last minute rewrite that didn't pan out the way that the writers had hoped, since they killed Nell off and they don't seem to have any plans to bring her back anytime soon. Whatever the reason, it ain't gonna be that quick of a journey to get to that revelation, because Harmony goes running to Alexis for help, which by the way is a-okay, because just before that, Christina and Alexis had a heart-to-heart where Christina gave her blessing on her and Harmony being friends. Let's see how long it takes for Alexis to regret it. Harmony tells Alexis that when Willow was a baby, they lived in what was essentially another cult situation where they didn't believe in government pertaining their information, and there was a guy on the compound that was really good at making fake documents that created Willow's birth certificate. Harmony, why are you lying? Now, unless the writers forgot the original story, which, let's face it, is entirely possible, up until Harmony met Shiloh, she had a completely normal life. She found a guy, they got married, they had a kid, aka Willow, and then when Harmony met Shiloh, Shiloh had her husband killed. They were always a bit short on those details, but that was the gist of it. I'm actually really excited for the story because just last week I was saying, what on earth did they put Harmony on contract for when they're giving her next to nothing storyline-wise? And here we have it, the meat and potatoes. Finally, I'm stoked for it. Now, before we get into the bigger plot points of the week, let's talk about some of the blink and you may have missed it moments that we got. For instance, Marshall, who is now being played by the original actor again, runs into Curtis and Stella at Charlie's. He was there because he had actually forgotten his ID the last time he went there and was there to pick it up. Stella decides to give Curtis and Marshall some alone time while she goes and collects his ID. And when she goes up to Phyllis, Phyllis says she looks familiar, and I am wondering what that is about, because I wouldn't just say that randomly. Stella played it off like, oh, I have that kind of face, but you know that something is up. But I have no idea what that would be, though. I'm intrigued. Curtis and Marshall have their same old back and forth banter, the same old conversations we always see, although slightly tamed, I'll admit. But when Stella comes back and gets Marshall alone, she asks him why Curtis thinks that he's been in witness protection this whole time. Clearly, Stella knows the whole story, and I want to know why she's protecting him. I need answers, y'all. Something I feel like we may have all missed here is that the writers seem to be trying to do a tale of two lovers with Sam, Drew, and Dante. It kind of feels like someone's not doing their job, either the actors or the writers or the directors, because that is not what I have been seeing for the last few weeks. Actually, you know what? Let's take things a lot further back. Let's go back to, what was it, 2017 when Jason came back alive? It took Sam a while to admit her feelings, but she did tell Drew that she wanted to be with Jason. She went back to Jason, she broke Drew's heart, and eventually Drew died, and then when he came back to life, she was happy with Dante. To me, Kelly Monaco really played it off as she was happy that Drew was alive for Scout's sake, but nothing more. Now this week, all of a sudden, we have Sam, who is now currently being played by Lindsay Hartley, just a temporary recast, but regardless, she's having this conversation with Spinelli and saying that she is torn between Drew and Dante because Dante is a cop, which adds that little bit of danger element that she apparently no longer wants. But there is no danger with Drew whatsoever, and so she's wanting that back again. Now these scenes obviously would have happened whether Kelly was there to play the role or not, but it just seems like this was so left field. I know that personally I've had my ups and downs with Kelly Monaco. There are points where I believe that she's just kind of phoning it in, but I think that she is fully capable of making note of having to show that she has feelings for Drew. You know what I mean? If she was giving any kind of inkling to show that she has feelings for Drew, she would have shown that on screen. But we've seen none of that. Like, yeah, we've seen cute moments between Sam and Drew, but we've not seen like longing looks from Sam in the corner. Drew may be another story, but obviously he was the one that got his heart broken. He didn't leave Sam. Of course there would still be feelings there. But Sam has shown no romantic interest in Drew whatsoever. But anyway, rant over. Let's get into the bigger stuff on GH. Let's talk about Mr. C, Sonny Corinthos. He was planning to woo Carly back with some big gesture, and he told Ned about it because apparently they're besties all of a sudden. Ned advised him against it, but he assured Ned that Carly was all about the big gestures. Sonny also confided in Phyllis about what went down with Nina and his medication and what he has planned for Carly. And Phyllis was like, did you tell Carly about what went down with the meds and Nina? And Sonny was like, nope. Even Phyllis can see that what Carly needs is transparency and that Sonny is not willing to give that to her. In all fairness, I do to some degree see why Sonny is keeping it a secret. He's trying to get Carly back and he doesn't want her to come back out of obligation because he's off his meds and because she pities him. Still, the fact that part of your heart is still kind of with Nina is enough reason for Carly to stay away from you though. Olivia had gotten wind of Sonny's plan via Ned on her and Ned's wedding day, and she decides to warn Carly, and Carly confronts Sonny, but Sonny does kind of half convince her to meet him there just to see how things pan out. There being the Haunted Star, by the way. He's planning on recreating their second wedding, which happened in Montanique or something like that. Probably happened before I was watching. They've been married like 10,000 times, so maybe I'll look it up on GHMV Reacts sometime. Sonny had gotten his daughter Christina to help him set up the Haunted Star, and she was super excited for him, so she checks in with Carly and asks if she's gonna show up, and Carly at this point is not sure if she will, and kind of shuts Christina down. Christina ends up going back to Sonny, and tells him that Carly is not coming. After that, Christina leaves and heads to work, and when she arrives at Charlie's, she's on the phone with her mom and telling her what went down, and Obrecht and Nina happen to be there, and Obrecht heard the conversation and overhears that Sonny is by himself at the Haunted Star and tells Nina that this is her chance to be alone with Sonny again. Now, during this time, Carly was actually on Jason's bridge with Drew asking for his advice on what she should do about Sonny, and Drew actually manages to convince her to fight for her marriage, so she decides to go to the Haunted Star after all. I can only imagine what Carly's gonna walk in on when she goes there and sees Sonny and Nina. Now, finally, let's talk about the biggest, albeit most predictable story of the century. Peter manages to escape police custody again and kidnaps Louise. If y'all didn't see this coming months ago, then you must be new here because we have been putting up with Peter getting away with everything for 4 years now. Before we talk about how that transpired, we should probably talk about Austin and how he finally remembers everything that happened the night that Louise was born. That Maxie passed off Louise to Brooklyn to raise as Bailey. Austin confronted Maxie and Maxie caved and told him the truth. And Austin, of course, was sad that she didn't trust him, but understood her reasons as to why she did it. The two of them share another kiss. I'm still not really into them, though. I'm not gonna lie. Not that it matters anyway. As Peter was getting ready to be taken from the hospital and into police custody, Peter was acting so smug that I am surprised no alarm bells went off in anyone's head. The entire time, this dude was acting like a dude who knew he was not gonna go to jail that night. He was taunting Dante, trying to get under his skin. He was smiling all creepily at Felicia and Anna. And even without all that, they have enough experience of Peter escaping police custody that the PCPD should have had a plan A, plan B, and plan C before they put Peter in that van. If all these characters involved were being written properly, we would have had Mac and Dante keeping things to themselves and had Peter and everyone else on their team believe that they were going to a van and then beelining it to a helicopter. Anna and Felicia would have taken one look at Peter's smug face and knew that he was up to something, even if he did go into the van, and they would have followed from the jump. The fact that all these characters were acting so la-di-da about it just pissed me off to no end. They all go into the van gets sabotaged, they crash, and then when Mac and Dante get out, an SUV comes, someone knocks Dante over the head, and someone shoots Mac. So much time passes by, and that's when Anna and Felicia were like, you know what? It's been a long time and we haven't heard anything from Mac. Let's now decide to go on the drive to Route 31 where everything had already transpired. Obviously, Peter got away and Dante and Mac are taken to the hospital. Dante actually calls Chase while he's in the hospital to tell him what transpired, and Chase and Brooklyn were outside, finally admitting that they had feelings for each other, and of course when they get the call from Dante, they freak out and run up the stairs, and lo and behold, Louise is gone. Peter now has Louise. Again, this is something that we all seen coming. If you didn't, you're new here. Personally, I'm just glad that we got to this portion of the story finally. It took forever to get here, despite us knowing months ago that this is exactly what was going to go down. I hope to God that by the end of this month, we finish the story once and for all, because at this point, I am so frustrated that Peter is still around that I'm about to revoke my GH card. It is ridiculous that we have been sitting here for 4 years begging for this character to be gone, and he is still here. I know that some of us think that it's about Wes Ramsey and his connections, but realistically, whether it is true that he's using his connections to Laura Wright to stay on the show, Roger Howarth and Michael Easton have played a million characters in the last 10 years. Surely they can do the same with Wes Ramsey if he's got that kind of connection. Nobody wants Peter here anymore. It truly blows my mind that the majority of the audience have been begging for this for years, and the writers just refuse to end this farce of a story. I've been a very big GH fan for most of my life, and I don't want to stop watching, but it's so jarring to me that this has gone on for this long. Peter has literally gotten away with everything, with no consequences whatsoever beyond people hating him. This guy has committed so many crimes in the last 4 years, and he's gotten away with every single one of those crimes. It's like he's attacked Andre Maddox instead of hit out on him. He's killed Franco. He's held Jason hostage twice now, and Drew, and Chloe, several characters, I'm guessing Holly as well. And that's not even mentioning any of the stuff he's done to Maxie, and he is still here today. What the hell? I'm sorry to rant, but I'm just so mad. I'm so mad. If this doesn't get resolved by the end of February sweeps, I will be so pissed. Woosah. Okay, this Wednesday I am doing another live stream of GHMV Reacts. It's going to be a Valentine's Day themed episode. I want you guys to go into the comments and tell me 3 of your favorite couples and what your favorite scene or favorite romantic scene of each of those couples are, and we'll watch a bunch of them on Wednesday's live stream on the Dion's Corner channel. Let me know what those are in the comments below, and if you liked this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.